Hello, everybody. I am delighted to introduce the co-creators and executive producers of this show, Regina Corrado and Olivia Milch. Come on in, guys. Hello. And then the stars of The Better Sister who you just saw, as well as the executive producers, Jessica Biel and Elizabeth Banks. Hello. Hi. Hi. Thanks for being here, guys. Uh, I was just asking everyone, no one in here has read the book, so everyone has so many twists left to discover in the show, which is very exciting. So we're gonna.
I have a friend in the audience.
That's exciting.
That's my friend. My mom's really good friend. How are you? You love it? And she sees everything. So that's saying something.
Yeah, that's good. If you impress the most important audience, that's what you want to do. So these guys have just seen the first two episodes of the show. There's obviously a lot to talk about. We're not going to spoil it too much, but I kind of wanted to start by talking about the sisterly dynamic that's at the core of this, because I think by the end of the second episode, you kind of start to see them getting back into a groove, like what their relationship had been before. So if there's a way to talk about this dynamic between the two of them without getting too much into spoilers, how do you guys describe the relationship between Nikki and Chloe, and maybe what we can expect to see between them as the show goes on?
Are we getting back into the groove? I'm like, I think we still hate each other by
I think
episode
there's
Well,
two.
you hate me. I don't
No, I
hate you
do.
at
I
all.
hate you. I hate you.
But you guys hate the cops more.
I've forgiven you,
No,
basically.
that's true. That's true. I mean, let's see. The dynamic is so fun because, these two women have been living two very, very different, separate lives, based based on a lot of lies from their childhood,
Yeah.
and they don't know how to be together anymore. They just don't even know how to do it. So it's what you're going to see over the course of the show is them figuring it out and stumbling every step of the way. So it's really messy and sloppy how they start to learn who they are again as grown-up people and how to trust each other and what happened when they were kids and what was real and what wasn't real, and it's really all real. It's just different perspectives and
Yeah.
different experiences.
Yeah. Messy and real and realistic, which I think is one of the things that draws you in those first two episodes. Like you see them like not being on the same page, not being able to get in the groove, and having all these like old resentments. Like they're all so visible without even having to say it out loud, which is such a powerful thing to see in the first few episodes of the show, I think. So Olivia, it's my understanding that this starts with you. With they bring the book to you and say, can you make this into a TV show? So obviously you've got so much you can go with what is in the book already. But what was kind of your take on it? The thing that you had an idea for how to make this into a story that you sold the rest of these guys on and said, we're all going to be part of the team that's going to make this happen.
Definitely. I think the book is so great. You guys should all go and read it. It's very fun and twisty and
But
turny.
not before they
But-
finish the show.
Finish the show first and then don't ruin it for anybody. No. I think the thing in the book that I really connected. I know I'm wearing your bracelet. I just noticed.
I'm also distracted by
I know,
those
sparkly.
boots.
We're very
What
sparkly.
is happening here?
Wow.
Can't stop staring.
But I think the thing, the sister relationship is so much at the heart of the book. But I think the thing I really connected to immediately was this idea that siblings get different versions of their parents. And that really affects your identity, your conception of yourself, your conception of your siblings, particularly when a parent gets sober at some point in childhood. My dad got sober when I was 10, and my brother was 13, and my sister was 15. And we all have very different ideas and experiences of what our childhood was like. And we had different levels of anger about that and frustration and how we carried that into adulthood, and that felt like, ooh, that's real. Like we can really sink our teeth into that, and it was on top of the incredible enjoyment of the whodunit of the murder. It's really the mystery of the relationship, of the past, and of how you can kind of move forward out of that. And so that was the thing where I felt like, hey, fucked up family life. Let's go. Come on. That's what is good. Nothing else you need. And then it was just what an incredible journey then to be able to partner with Regina and bring Elizabeth and Jessica. And you can't even imagine what it could be like without this team. It's exactly the way that it was supposed to be. And it was just such a gift.
So Regina, was the fucked up family your hook too, or was it the
Totally.
murder?
Well, it was Olivia first of all, and the family stuff is where I dwell. Like I just love it, and I love the betrayals, and I love the secrets, but I also love the love. And that's the piece that I am most drawn to. Like, how do we move forward? How do we live together after the terrible things we can or potentially can do to each other in families, and yes, and working with Olivia, writing with her, and is just such a it's a dream for me. And these guys just made it even more so, and to build on what we put down on the page and to see what they did and how they ran with it. It was just amazing.
So, Elizabeth, I think you had said that when this first came to you, you thought that maybe Chloe was the character that they had in mind for you because you have been. Oh,
But
okay.
this is a question for Jessica Biel.
Oh, okay.
It's reversed.
Okay.
For some reason, I was being talked. Craig was talking to me about Nikki.
Craig Gillespie, who
Craig
directed
Gillespie
the
was-
pilot.
Yes.
Right, was talking to me about Nikki, and I was like, "Oh, so cool!" I read it for Nikki, and was like, "Yeah, this is different for me. I want to do that." And then later he was like, "No, Chloe," and I was like, "Oh," reread it for Chloe, and I was like, "Oh." I don't know if Nikki is for me. I was like, "Oh, Nikki is for." Yes. Yes, Elizabeth. Yes. That makes a lot more
Yeah,
sense.
the hot, messy drunk is me.
That sexy, hot, messy drunk. But by the way, I so desperately, like in my little like creative heart, I'm like, I could do it. I could do
And
it.
you
I could do a sexy, messy, sloppy drunk. I want to do a sexy, messy, sloppy drunk, but unfortunately, not as good as you.
No, just
At least not. She's better.
Just get your own sloppy, messy
gonna
drunk.
get my own
Not Nikki.
down the line. It made so much. I was like, right, yeah, that's the way this was meant to be.
So wait, why did you feel like Chloe was the bell that rang within you? Like, why did that make more sense when you read that? You said, "Oh yes, the pieces fell into place." Is there a personal connection to the character there?
I mean, yes, there is for sure. I think I would. I don't really love admitting it, but I feel like I understand how she compartmentalizes things. I understand how she presents a certain way, but for everyone to be like, "Wow, that's a nice looking life," and then secretly there's other things happening. I think everybody understands that too, on some level. But I don't know. There was something I felt for her. I felt like, oh man, I've done that. I know how to. I do that sometimes too, and I think I just felt like I would really be putting on a thing if I was trying to be that Nikki person, at least at this moment in my life. And I felt like I just kind of slid into her shoes, like, oh, I know this kind of dysfunction. I know this kind of pain. I have my own version of it.
Yeah.
Very different from what she's going through with her sister and her family and everything. But I don't know. Casting is everything, right? So much of it. And you do kind of have to, something in there has to be within you, that you just understand, even if it's abstract.
Yeah. So Elizabeth, what was it then for Nikki that rang within you in some way? I mean, you said the sloppy messy drunk thing, which is not, there's so much more to her. She's like the humor that she brings immediately and kind of the knowingness between the two of them, I feel like felt like a specialty of yours. I don't know if that's what resonated with you, if there was something else.
Well, I am a big sister, so that helped too. I was really intrigued that this was an entire series built around a sisterhood. And so that spoke to me, being a big sister. AA it is something that I have respected for so long. I've played characters dealing with sobriety in my past, so I have a lot of family and friends. I'm from a big Irish Catholic Massachusetts family, so they know how to drink, and they're and so I've been a fan of those organizations for a long time, and so knowing that Nikki was someone who got in her own way, had some ideas and plans, but just couldn't figure out how to do it. And that she was going to be a fish out of water and a sort of an imposter in Chloe's world also felt very close to me, living the life that I live, where I'm constantly like, how did I get here? What am I doing here? I remember trying to give my mom a cashmere sweater and she was like, that is too fancy. I will not wear that ever. That's where I'm from. So that's, those were the connection points for me with Nikki, the sisterhood and the not feeling like I deserve certain things, and then but also like a complicated past where I've done the work to be like, I focus on the positives now. You know, I give grace and forgiveness. But the other thing that's really fun and intriguing is Nikki comes to the situation with tons of information, which you guys are going to find out about if you keep watching. And so in that big sister role really gets to dole it out across the series, which is really empowering as an actor to know that I'm kind of in control of what's going on a lot of the time.
Well, yeah, the question about doling in information for Olivia and Regina, you've got this core relationship between the sisters. You're hooking people in from the beginning. You don't understand them fully, but you're intrigued. But the mystery, you start with a murder. What better way to kick off a TV show than with that? But there's a lot of twists. There's a lot going on, and you've got the source material. But how do you guys figure out over making the course of a season what to tell us, what not to, how to hold things out? How did you guys structure that?
Absolutely. I think that the mystery of the murder, you're looking for these physical clues, right? How are we going to piece this together? What are we going to learn and when? But it's also so much about what is being revealed to you about the character's emotional and psychological past and present. And everybody is keeping secrets from each other, but everyone's also kind of keeping secrets from themselves in order to hold themselves together in this present moment. And so I think for us, it was always following the path of what is the most emotionally true thing for a character to do, even if they're not telling the truth? What would be guiding them based upon what secret they're keeping, what they're trying to get out of a relationship? I want to mend this with my sister. I can't immediately come in and say X, Y, and Z. I want to mend my relationship with my son. I want to be welcome in this space, and similarly, okay, now my sister's here. Now my son has witnessed the death of his father. How do there are secrets I'm keeping from them, but I'm not going to tell them now. And for all of our characters, and the detectives are so amazing, and Lorraine Toussaint, who plays Catherine, and Matthew Modine, everybody has a secret and has a past. And so I think for us, it was really about the carefully constructing a world an infrastructure that would hold all of these characters and their emotional truths first and foremost. And then you get to kind of follow the breadcrumbs that come out sort of as a part of that.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like a cake too, like it's a layer cake. So you want to also maintain a sense of humor while you're doing it, because the drama, the relief of the humor makes the drama even more effective. So I think we were very dedicated to that as well. I think that all those layers are extremely important in terms of how to build the mystery too, because you're laughing in one scene and then you're afraid for someone's life in another. I think these things speak to each other, and they're in conversation with each other, and that's an important balance to strike.
We always talk about somebody gets murdered, but you still have to have dinner that night. I mean, like that's like, what are we gonna eat? Like it's true, it's simultaneous.
Yeah.
So that was a big part of it, the everydayness also.
Yeah. Well, Elizabeth and Jessica, you guys sign out not just as actors, but as executive producers. So you have, goals for the story as well, I think. You know the story that's going to be from the book, but what did you guys want to make sure that this show captured? What was the truth that you want to make sure it got out while, following their vision for what it was?
I mean, whenever I put that hat on, I'm thinking about the audience. I'm thinking about, are we entertaining people? Are they getting it? Is it confusing? It's really, they become sort of the other character that we're presenting the entire thing to, because that's the job is like, this is the whole, we had incredible collaborators. This was a group and an awesome group effort. So intelligent and warm and cared about the best ideas and for everybody to win, right? So like, I want the writers to win, I want Jess to win, I want the crew to win, I want the DP to win. Like, we just want everyone to feel like we're all winning at this. And so it really was a super collaborative, awesome experience all the way through. And we, getting to see post is really fun too. Like, how is it coming together?
Yeah, what does it mean to be on a set where everyone wants to win? I mean, those are your words, but I want to hear from everybody. Like, I think everyone says they want to have a collaborative set, and I think everyone knows it doesn't always happen. But if you go into that with that attitude, like having everyone get home and feel like they had a victory, what does that look like on a day-to-day basis? How do you create that vibe?
Yeah, I mean, let's pretend they're not here so we can brag on them for a second. No, it does. It really does start at the top, because it really is about the example that gets set. And so when you have people that are as warm, as intelligent, as smart, as professional, who've done this before, it's like it immediately, everyone feels like, okay, we're safe. We're going to be taken care of. We're going to be listened to. We all care about the right things, which is making the best thing that we can and and getting home to our families and keeping each other, and also the moment in the industry that we're in. I think we all felt so lucky to be getting to make art and getting to make something together. We really felt that and appreciated that. When you're working with the level of talent that you have at every level of our show, you kind of get to pinch yourself, but you also, as my pops would say, you don't want to come with any weak shit. You want to show up every day and give it your best. And I think exactly what Elizabeth was saying, that it was always the best idea, and that could come from anywhere. And I think it was so important to Regina and I that we felt like this was warm, it was open, there was open communication in every direction. And I think that you feel that. You feel it when you're allowed to kind of be and create, and you don't feel like, oh God, okay, this person's coming, better shut the fuck up. Like it's like that's no fun, And also Regina and I laugh very loud. We ruin a lot of takes, which that makes people comfortable, But I think it really was about that. We also wanted to keep people very well fed. We're all mothers on this stage, so that was big. But no, I think that you really feel it when everybody has that same set of goals.
Yeah. Well, you were saying earlier, Jessica, that the casting is everything and putting all this together. And there's an incredible cast in this entire show. And Corey Stoll, there's you guys have an amazing scene involving chainmail at the end of the first episode with him. But I wanted to ask about the actor who plays both of your son, really, Maxwell Ace Donovan. I'm getting his name right? I mean, you guys both established just a distinct relationship with him, both as a pair and individually. And that seems like a really complex, it is a complex relationship to capture on screen. So how did you guys work with him specifically? Because that really is the anchor of the show, to get that right.
I mean, he was just such an amazing doll face young actor. I mean, he's just, I don't know, he's like sunshine in a human or something. Yeah. He was so easy to work with. He's so talented. I don't even think he knows what he's capable of. He's so young, and he's just this fresh kind of, I don't know. I felt really connected to him. I know, Elizabeth, you felt connected to him. We both have boys as well. So you kind of immediately were like, oh my God, this is going to be our life, with like our sons now they're like grown up and they're going to be like him, So
he's taller than you, but still the baby.
Still would be the baby forever. He and I are from the same place. We're both from Colorado. So that was like a cool, weird connection that we shared. And yeah, we just had a really nice kind of warm sort of thing, but also there was a distance between he and I that our characters. Yeah, there was a distance between our characters that we had to. I think we had to work harder for that than we did for our connection. Yeah, because I just loved him and I just loved watching him work. He was he's a very subtle actor. Yeah, and that's hard to do. So it was cool to see a young person, really doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, not trying too hard. He'd also never lived in New York. He'd never really spent time there. So we were kind of like his aunties, being like, this is where you should go to eat. And this is go see this show. Yeah, you can get the TKTS tickets for $40. What do you mean? You've never seen The Lion King?
No, and I think it's also, he's one of the things Regina and I always talked about with that character was you have to believe that he was a kid who was just crossing over into the threshold of adulthood. You have to believe could be capable of something, of potentially getting in an altercation with his father, but also that there was that sweetness and innocence. And I think, and Maxwell, he was 18 when we were, shooting this. And I think oftentimes with younger actors, you kind of are like, well, that person's 29. I mean, let's be honest, but also that they have that innocence still, and that it was so beautiful how he was able to capture that.
Yeah. I have to ask about the needle drops in episode 2. We get to know Nikki's character through the music that she's playing very loudly in Chloe's apartment, and the use of hit 'em up style. And I'm only happy when it rains. It just a very specific person would play those songs. I don't know who picks those or how that became part of her personality, but I loved that detail, and I want someone to take credit for it.
Oh my God! Much love to Sue Jacobs, music supervisor extraordinaire. She is the best. And yes, when she played Blue Cantrell hit 'em up style, I was like, bing, 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 that yes, please. I was like, and every time it would come on the edit, I'd be like, I was beaming. But it was so important, as we talked a lot about Nikki's musical taste. Throughout the show, you'll see different moments where she's listening, where music really plays throughout her life. And so it was really important to us what those needle drops were and what it said about her. And her, Nikki is more in touch with her artistic side, her creative side, and so that was a big part of shaping the character.
Yeah. Did you feel like you heard that song, Elizabeth, and kind of like, oh, now I understand her better? Like Lou Cantrell really.
We did that one. There's some that we played on set that didn't make it into the actual show that also fed me as a character and annoyed the fuck out of Chloe, which really made me happy. So that was sort of the whole thing.
Yeah,
My mantra the whole show was, "You're not better than me." To Chloe. So it was a lot of like, I'm going to do what I want.
that sinks in after a while too.
I just would huff and puff around. A lot of that, generally.
Well, the way that, to me, I think you see the sisters start coming together at the end of episode 2 because Kim Dickens is showing up and driving them insane. And I know you didn't want to brag about them, so they're in the room, but Kim Dickens isn't here, so everyone can brag about her because that dynamic of both of them having like, this bitch, I can't stand her. Like, it really adds so much to it, and it's funny, and there's the drama to it. So, I guess for you guys as a showrunners, like, how did that character specifically become kind of it brings the sisters together, but she's like this little needle in their side.
In that moment in particular, we were so excited to write that, to show, okay, what does it mean to be family? You could be tearing each other's eyes out, ripping each other's throats. If someone crosses both of you, you're immediately aligned. Yes. And so when we
Common enemy.
right?
Yeah.
We were constructing that scene, it made us so happy. But then these guys were doing some improv, which made us even happier. And Kim is just, she's so vulnerable and so strong and so funny in everything she does. She brings it all together, all simultaneously. I don't know if you guys responded that way, but she was such, speaking of setting a tone on a set, I mean, she is truly a lovely presence and a great actor.
Yeah. Oh no, that was the best. That's it. This bitch is a dog with a bone. Like it's like, but it's so fun exactly to see them gang up against her, but and then to see the dynamic with Nikki and Gidry and and it's everybody's kind of figuring each other out, and then but there's also this weird love and mutual respect, and I think that's what's so amazing with so many of the female characters in the show, even when they're on different sides, seemingly. There's this mutual respect of like what everyone's capable of, and I think that's very satisfying. You don't get to see that often.
It feels kind of New Yorky too, right? And so there's a power dynamics of New York that's not like anywhere else, where it's like, okay, I don't respect the way that you got there, but like your power means something to me, and I feel
Game
like that
recognized game.
Yeah, and I feel like that plays, without spoilers, I feel like it plays out throughout the entire season as a whole.
Yes.
So Jessica, you've done really the TV projects you've done over the past couple of years. You've been like kind of a driving force behind a lot of them. You've been pursuing things really specifically. It seems like acting and producing and kind of. And like building a body of work on television, I think is really interesting. And I'm curious how this fits into that and like what your goals are as you take on EP roles and are kind of making stuff for yourself. Like, what do you think there's a theme to it? Do you think there's a consistent thing that you're looking for in these roles that you've been taking on and how this fits in with that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the consistent theme has been complicated, interesting women, interesting scenario, and up against all odds, and what do they do, right? That's what I'm always interested in, is that like human behavior, what happens when you need to protect, the people you love the most. How far do you go? How far would somebody go? That sort of seems to be the theme as I'm thinking back to the last few things. Yeah, there's usually a dead body rolling around somewhere. I like that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't know where it goes from here necessarily, but this particular show definitely fits into just something that I'm always interested in exploring. So yeah, simple as that.
Well, it feels like television is just so much the place that you can find like thorny, weird, funny, strange characters, and where you're able to like build something like this. I mean, you guys have all been working in the industry long enough to kind of see what gets made and what doesn't. But do you feel like this is? It doesn't feel like a rarity because we've seen like both of you work on a lot of like great shows like this, but it does feel. Do you feel like it's pushing a boulder up the hill to get something that's kind of this unique on screen? Like how does that feel for all of you guys? I see you nodding, Olivia.
Yeah, you'll be shocked to know I have an answer to that. No, I think that there's something really interesting. This genre. I don't know if it's like, do you guys like murder mysteries? Like, do you like this genre? Right? We like these whodunits. Like, we're really drawn to them, and because they're fun, because you're a part of it, right? You're engaged, and I think part of the thing that it taps into for all of us is this desire. There's a quote we say from my pops, who's a mentor of both of ours, who says, we're all mysteries to ourselves, right? And I think there's something about this genre which inherently allows us to engage in a process of discovery about who we are as people, because we're engaging in a process of discovery fundamentally as part of the form and the structure of the show. And I think that's part of the reason why they're so popular and engaging and why we like them. I think we were so lucky with this one, as you said. This one's kind of weird. It's a little idiosyncratic. It's funnier, it's different, it's odd. It kind of does things that surprise you. And I think we were really lucky that we had this form that allowed people to say, okay, we get what that is. We think people will like that. We have this great book. It's a mystery. It's a whodunit. But kind of beneath the surface, it's this really sort of bizarre love story between these sisters. And it's weird and funny. And it's about class. And it's also about race in certain moments. And it kind of touches on all these different things. And I think it's always a gift as storytellers to take a genre. We've always had this in our industry. Westerns, which were really popular, film noir, rom-coms. We love these genres. And then how do you take a genre and kind of subvert the expectation and kind of do something different and something surprising? And I think that's such a great thing for an audience to be able to come and say, I know I'm going to be taken care of, and I know there's going to be something that is familiar in this, but I'm also going to leave feeling a little different than I did before. And that's the best you can ask for.
Well, and Elizabeth, having worked as a director now a couple of times, do you feel like you have a different bar for what you look for when you're going to be on screen, when you're not the director, but you can, something you can take charge of in the way that you did here?
Well, like Jessica, I really just want a great character to chew on. I want to play people with agency and impact on the actual story that's unfolding. This in particular, for me, it was like a Greek tragedy. Like this was Shakespearean. There's two sisters have the same husband and the same son. Like what? And there's a murder, and then there's lies, and I'm speaking to ghosts because the past is always with me. I just felt like there's very classic tropes, like these heroines here, but it is so also like modern, but at the same time familiar storytelling, in that it's big and vast, and it's about these deep familial breaks, and the son living in the father's shadow, and just so much of it felt like operatic to me. And then also, okay, now we get to, so if that's the big canvas, what's all the specificity that we get to play with? And that, as an artist, just however I'm telling the story, that's what's most fun, is like get the biggest canvas and then dive into the details, because that's what keeps the audience hooked in and relatable to them.
Yeah. To talk about details as we wrap up, and these characters are much more than their clothes and their hair, but the hair is such a big part of these characters, I think. Nikki's got so much hair, and Chloe's, you've got the bob now, but it's like Chloe's is like a defying gravity kind of bob. I think as actors, everybody's, you find your character through these elements. So does the hair mean as much to you guys as it does to us as the audience in terms of figuring out who these people are?
Definitely for me, yes. The bob was a big deal for, I think, just for me to like feel in my body like, oh, I am not who I normally am. This rigidity, this kind of severity, this sort of, organization, this control.
Yeah.
This is control. It manifested in a hairdo. And it looked great, and it was fun, and it was scary to do, and all the things, but I felt like when Craig encouraged like the real cut, because we were talking about wigs and we were talking about all types of stuff, and he goes, just cut it. I'm like, I don't know about that. He goes, just cut it. And I thought about it for a while, and I was like, fuck, I should just cut it. He's right. And it was just good for me. It was good for me to dive in that way and just like be all in. And
the TikTok you made of the haircut was fantastic.
That was
you
cool,
really
right?
leaned in. It was great.
I stole that off social media. I didn't think of that myself. But yeah, it looked cool. It was cool how we did that.
Yeah.
Again, we hadn't started working together, and so when we didn't really know each other that well, and I also saw that TikTok, and I remember thinking, she is fucking going for it. Like she's committed. This is rad. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
And I know exactly what Nikki should look like now, which is the utter opposite of this.
Yeah, because I mean, again, you guys have all worked long enough that you know if you step on the set with someone who has that level of commitment, like that makes all the difference in the world, right? Like
It was such a sign of what was to come. I was like, this is going to be so good.
Well, I want to thank you guys for making the show, and thank you guys all for watching it. You can watch the entire season soon on Prime Video, and thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you guys.